Welcome to the deep dive. We sift through your notes, your sources to pull out the really potent stuff, basically giving you a shortcut to being truly well-informed. And today, our mission is, well, it's pretty focused. We're digging into a huge question, one that really defines great leadership. Why is it that some leaders just seem to consistently pull off the impossible? They turn chaos into opportunity, vision into actual reality. While others, maybe with the same smarts, same resources, they just get stuck or burn out.
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And the sources you shared, they point beyond the obvious stuff, budgets, years on the job. That's not usually it. The real difference maker, the sort of hidden engine, it's vision. But maybe not vision like we toss around in meetings. It's this rare ability to see what other people just don't see, and then having the guts, the faith, really, to act on that deeper insight.
Okay, let's unpack that right away, because vision often just means like a 5-year plan, right? A
Yeah.
target. You're saying it's deeper.
Much deeper.
Yeah.
This kind of vision, it actually changes how you interpret reality itself. Like fundamentally, it's the difference between seeing a massive setback as, game over, or seeing it as a doorway.
A doorway to something else.
Exactly. Or seeing scarcity, maybe a tight budget, as a hard stop, versus an invitation to get creative, find abundance. Without that depth of sight, leaders, well, they mostly just manage what's already there. Fine, but limited. With it, though, they actually start to shape what could be. So for you listening, this deep dive is about understanding that perspective. That's your most powerful leadership tool.
Okay, perspective is power. But then, why does it feel like so many leaders today are just adrift? We're swimming in data, right? Metrics, reports, social media noise.
Drowning in it.
Drowning, yeah. But starving for actual insight, for that vision you're talking about. It's a weird paradox.
It really is. The sources nail this, calling it the crisis of sight. See, when leaders only focus on what they can easily measure, what's right in front of them, their decisions, they become reactive, often fear-based, kind of piecemeal.
Busy, but not really going anywhere meaningful.
Precisely. Busy spinning wheels. They trade real vision for just being visible. Lots of motion, very little meaning.
Which brings us to that uncomfortable truth you mentioned. You just can't lead beyond what you can actually see. Leadership isn't first about the title on your door, your spot on the org chart. It's about your perspective, that lens you use to make sense of the world.
And that focus on just sight, on the visible, leads to what the sources call the great mistake, a really common trap.
Which is?
Confusing ambition with vision. They sound similar, but they're worlds apart. Ambition, the sources say, is bottom up. It comes from us, our intellect, our drive, our desire to, make a mark. Think Tower of Babel, Genesis 11, people building this huge thing so that we may make a name for ourselves. It's self-focused, limited by our own steam.
Okay, that's ambition, driven from within. But true vision?
That's different. It's top-down. It comes from somewhere else. True vision isn't really manufactured. You don't brainstorm it into existence at a retreat. It's received. The Greek word is apocalypsis. It just means an unveiling, a disclosure, like pulling back a curtain. It's about getting your own perception aligned with a reality that's bigger than your immediate situation.
Wow, that sounds incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
But, let's be practical. Doesn't that sound a bit risky? If a leader says, my whole strategy came from something I received, how do they avoid just, going off the rails, making impulsive calls without checking the data?
Yeah, that's the tension, isn't it? And it's critical. This vision doesn't ignore the data. It absolutely doesn't. It reinterprets the data. The data tells you, okay, here's where we are. The vision tells you why you're there and where you need to head next. Every leader in these sources who really changed things, they were first a seer, someone who saw a reality hidden from the normal view. And that let them handle the hard facts differently.
Okay, the examples, let's get into those. Because they really show this power of interpretation, right?
Yeah.
Of just the bare facts.
Oh, absolutely. Let's start with the Joseph principle, which is about seeing purpose inside the problem. Look at Joseph's life by any normal measure. Total disaster, right?
Right.
Betrayed, sold, slavery, prison for something he didn't do. The facts were just awful.
And that's where, for someone listening who feels like they're in that pit right now, how do you avoid just giving up? It's hard to see process when all you feel is the pain, the betrayal.
Impossible. It's impossible if you're only relying on sight, on the facts in front of you. Joseph, though, he was operating with a received vision, something that anchored him to a future he couldn't yet see. And that allowed him to interpret his present nightmare not as the end, not as punishment, but as a necessary step, a process. So years later, facing his brothers, the ones who did him wrong, he can sum it all up, not with bitterness, but with clarity. He says, you intended to harm me, but God intended it for good, to save lives. He reframed the whole narrative.
Wow. That reframing. It turns personal suffering into this huge redemptive mission. Changes the whole story.
Exactly. Then you've got the Nehemiah perspective, seeing reality in the rubble. So Nehemiah here, the walls of Jerusalem are down. Just rubble, ash, total disgrace. That's the fact. And everyone else, they see a problem too big to fix, hopeless ruin, too expensive, too difficult.
The status quo reaction.
Right. But Nehemiah, he sees something else through the rubble. He sees the restored city. He sees God's covenant being renewed. He perceives the future city in the present mess, which lets him say, with conviction, come, let us rebuild the wall. He saw past the immediate.
Okay, and the third example is maybe the most striking. Visually, I mean. The Elisha example.
Oh, definitely. It's the ultimate illustration of this dual sight. Elisha's servant wakes up one morning, sees the enemy army everywhere, surrounding the city. The facts are terrifyingly clear. He panics. Oh no, what do we do? His sight was 100% accurate.
He saw the budget cuts closing in, the competitors move, the impossible deadline, the crisis.
Exactly. He saw the threat. But Elisha, his perspective wasn't limited by the visible facts. He just calmly says, don't be afraid. Those who are with us are more than those who are with them. Now, he didn't deny the enemy army was there. He wasn't delusional. He just perceived a greater unseen reality alongside it. And then he prays that simple prayer, "O Lord, open his eyes so he may see." And the servant's eyes are opened. And he sees, well, he sees the chariots of fire, the hills full of them.
Okay, chariots of fire. For a leader today facing, their own version of that surrounding army, what does that mean practically?
It means discerning the hidden resources, the unseen strengths. Those chariots, they represent the massive, non-visible power and protection available. So in today's world, maybe the visible data, the finances, the market share looks bleak. Okay, but the chariots of fire might be your team's incredible loyalty, or maybe some unique knowledge you possess, or deep spiritual resilience within the organization, unseen assets. Your job as that visionary leader is to see those assets, to recognize that deeper reality that just cuts through the panic the visible facts can cause.
Right, so it's about translating that unseen reality into an operational truth, something you can act on. Okay, if we accept this idea, vision is received, not made. How do we actually cultivate that? The ability to receive it. We need some kind of framework.
We do, and the sources suggest genuine received vision usually has 3 core components. They're interwoven, and they help cut through the noise.
Okay, what's the first one?
Purpose. This is about getting beyond just the functional goals, what we do to the deeper significance, the why. So a functional goal might be build 100 houses. Okay, fine. But the vision-driven purpose behind it might be restore dignity and generational stability, reflecting God's heart for provision. See the difference.
Much bigger, more motivating.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It provides this unshakable why, a moral compass, and honestly, an endless source of motivation. If your why is just external stuff, money, fame, you'll eventually run dry.
Purpose is the fuel tank. Got it.
Yeah.
What's number 2?
Possibility. This is just a radical refusal to be defined only by the current problems or constraints. It's looking at what seems like scarcity and seeing potential, seeing solutions where others just see roadblocks. Think David and Goliath. Everyone else saw giant armor, spear, impossible odds, constraint.
Certain defeat.
Right. David saw opportunity. Opportunity for God's power to be shown, way beyond human strength. Vision anchors in possibility, not impossibility.
Okay, purpose, possibility. And the third one, pathway. You mentioned this can trip people up, especially high achievers.
Yeah, precisely. Because true vision doesn't usually give you the whole 10-year detailed map up front.
Yeah.
It typically gives you just enough clarity for the next faithful step. The path unfolds as you walk it. Think of Abraham, called to leave everything, go somewhere new, not knowing where he was going. He had the purpose, he believed in the possibility, but the specific pathway, that was revealed step by step.
Trying to see the whole road leads to freezing up.
Often, yeah, paralysis.
Yeah.
But focusing on just that next right step, that builds momentum.
Okay, so the goal isn't ambition, that's striving, but alignment. Getting aligned spiritually, internally with values, externally with the team.
Yeah.
So how do we do that? What are the habits? The disciplines needed to actually be in that receiving posture. We need practical steps.
Right. The sources point to 4 key disciplines. They're pretty essential if you really want to become a good receiver of that top-down perspective.
And the first one feels like the hardest one in our always-on world.
It might be. It's stillness. The sources use the word sila. You see it in the Psalms. It means to pause, to weigh things, to reflect. This means intentionally scheduling time away from the chaos, the phone buzz, the constant input, and asking that key question, God, what am I missing here? What reality am I just not seeing right now? You simply cannot hear that still, small voice, the one that often carries vision if you're surrounded by noise, internal or external. Stillness has to come first.
Makes sense. Okay, stillness. The second discipline sounds like it tackles the ego directly.
It does. It's surrender. Defined here as adopting the Gethsemane posture. Remember Jesus in the garden? That total yielding. It's about consciously trading your own plan, often fragile, based only on what you can see for God's plan, which might look different but is unbreakable. It's that moment of, not my will, but yours. Praying that seriously, because ambition and true alignment, they can't both be in the driver's seat.
Oof. That's tough when you've poured everything into your plan.
It is, especially when, say, the market shifts drastically, and that beautiful strategy you built needs to be, well, surrendered for a pivot you didn't anticipate but feel prompted towards.
Okay. Stillness, surrender. What's the third discipline? You mentioned it helps us spot patterns.
Yes, sacred sight. And this is primarily developed through immersing yourself in Scripture. Think of the Bible as like a vision training manual. It trains the eyes of your heart, you could say, to recognize God's recurring plot lines, his patterns of rescue, provision, faithfulness through history. So when your crisis hits your personal Red Sea moment, your Joseph in prison moment, you can actually look at it and think, wait a minute, I've seen this story before. I know how God works in situations like this.
It gives you context and hope.
Context, hope, and the ability to anticipate resolution because you recognize the narrative arc.
Powerful. Okay, and the final one, we don't have to do this alone, right?
Absolutely not. That's crucial. The fourth discipline is seeking counsel. Look, a vision that makes the leader feel totally isolated, like they're the only one who gets it, that can sometimes be pride masquerading as genius. True, received vision, it's usually confirmed in community. With wise, trusted advisors, people who can help you spot your blind spots, challenge your assumptions respectfully, refine the way forward. Proverbs is full of this. Plans fail for lack of counsel, but with many advisors, they succeed. Counsel keeps it grounded and ensures the vision serves the collective, not just the leader's ego.
So these four disciplines, stillness, surrender, sacred sight, seeking counsel. When a leader actually commits to these, what changes? What's the payoff?
The payoff is, well, it's a transformed posture internally. You shift from leading out of fear, anxiety, that constant pressure, to leading from a place of deep peace. Real conviction. You stop just reacting to the chaos around you and you start actively participating in the unfolding promise.
You see that shift of the Apostle Paul, right?
Yeah.
During that shipwreck in Acts.
Oh, it's a perfect picture. Acts 27. Total chaos. Experienced sailors terrified. Everyone assumes they're going to die. The facts are grim. The storm is raging. But Paul, he's received a word, a vision of assurance. So he stands up in the middle of the panic and speaks clarity, calmly. Not one of you will be lost. He's leading from conviction, received insight, not from the terrifying circumstances everyone else sees. That's the shift.
And that kind of leadership, it becomes contagious, doesn't it? It can ignite faith in others.
It really can, but... And this is the hard edge from the sources. Here's the provocative thought to leave you with. Vision, real, game-changing, top-down vision, it almost always attracts cynicism. Mockery, even. Remember Nehemiah? When he started talking about rebuilding the walls, his opponents, the Sanballats, what did they do?
They mocked him, laughed at the idea, questioned his motive.
Exactly. What is this feeble thing you are doing? Are you rebelling? The Sanballats represent that voice of the status quo, the comfortable realist, the institutional doubter who prefers the known ruin to the risky rebuild.
They stand for resistance to that unseen possibility.
Precisely. So the question for you, listening to maybe chew on this week, is this. When you face resistance, either your own internal doubt about a bold idea or external criticism, how do you discern its source? Is that resistance coming from genuinely wise, data-driven caution, necessary prudence? Or is it simply a failure maybe in you or around you to perceive the greater unseen reality, a failure to spot the chariots of fire that are actually there?
Wow. Is it prudence or is it blindness? That choice really does define your leadership journey, doesn't it? Will you be limited by sight alone or will you be liberated by revelation? And maybe the whole journey starts with just that simple, profound prayer we heard from Elisha. Lord, open my eyes that I may see.